place.
And if you would, please stand for invocation. Scott, would you lead us in prayer?
Father, we are thankful for the hospital. We're thankful for the employment opportunities it provides. We're thankful for the care it provides. Also, care at the nursing home and the employment opportunities it provides also. We ask you help us as a board to put aside our individual wants and wishes and to work together to try to do what is good for the district. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If not, need everybody to sign who wishes to address the board in open forum. And entertain a motion for approval of the previous meeting minutes.
Correction, please. July 28th on the agenda, number 1, wasn't that the month before? Item number 1.
I don't remember, honestly, Bill. I slept since July 28th. On number 1, when he called the meeting to order. Maybe not the rest of the minutes of that.
I'll leave it Tuesday.
Okay.
What's the issue?
That you didn't read that at that last regular meeting. If you don't remember, I was in a hurry. Page 2.
I did read that at the meeting.
At that July 28th.
I read it at one meeting. Was that the one?
Sorry.
That's what it is. The date is what the
I think
concern
it was
is.
the previous meeting. We can,
Okay.
if y'all make a motion and if that changes, that'd be great.
I'll make a motion we change that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So like for the person that is all that other changes, is there?
As far as I know, does anybody have anything else on the changes on the minutes? Okay.
I'll do a motion here for the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, do we have the sign sheet?
Right back here.
All right, Bobby Turner?
Just go ahead. Go ahead, just pass.
Pass. Travis Coffey.
With the understanding that this hospital district is for the support of the community, I would like some clarification made as to the statement the CEO made about firing everyone and hiring what's the temporary workers called?
Interim.
Yeah, not interim, hiring what's the fill-in nurses? I've lost my train of thought there.
Agency.
Yeah, David's comment about firing everyone and hiring agency being cheaper for the district. I would like some clarification on that.
Okay, David, you're not required to comment on that. You may do so if you wish.
I'll pass, thank you.
Okay, I pass too.
Doug Griswold.
As being the president of the Parkview Support Group, our main interest is to support the Parkview and the employees and the community. And it's from several that's called me even today on some situations that's been done, and we're really concerned about not using local people to fill positions in our facilities. And I just want to make that statement that I think we need to be, because we're in a small community like this, we need to be concerned about our community itself. And I've had some personal things in my life that at one point I didn't like Muleshoe or anybody in Muleshoe, because you spit on the ground and it'd get plumb back around to your house before it dried. But on the same occasion, in a small community, with that being said, you also have the support of those people in the same community that will come to your aid when you're in need, and that's the way Muleshoe operates. And I'm a little concerned. I know we had a couple of people relieved from their positions up there, and the very day they were relieved, we have a replacement all the way from Abilene. That just kind of a question that I have and a concern.
Okay, that's so noted. Thank you, Dale.
While we're still in open forum, can I follow up?
No, sorry.
Why not?
He signed in, his time has passed, and that's where
There's
we're
no blame on that. He wants to talk, he needs to talk.
at. Bill, you're out of order.
You are too. As a
If we-
non-person in public forum, right?
I have allowed him this term, and we're not gonna argue about this, so, either we can get through this meeting or we can close it right now.
Whatever.
Well, let's try to get through it. Next, we have administrative reports, and we're gonna move that up, and replace it as number 3.
We're gonna talk about the air conditioning because we've had to talk about it such a long period of time. I've asked Dennis Criswell, who works for Carrier, to come in. He knows the terminology and an explanation of what has happened and where we are, where we need to go from here. And he's actually done the drawing on the board. And I'm gonna turn it over to him now so he can talk a little bit about the air conditioning and so forth and so on that. So just to give an update to everybody where we're at. We're still having some problems. It's a lot better than it was. So, Dennis.
I think I'll start with the ABCs first. Okay? Each of you have air handlers up in the penthouse, 2 in each penthouse. This is our chiller that's outside. The chiller removes the heat that's inside, replaces it with chill water going through the loop. We have pump 1, pump 2. Pump 1 and pump 2 is either lead lag. In other words, it switches back and forth by hours and whenever we have issues with one pump or whatever. As we go through the loop itself, we go into the chill water coil. When we were first called out here, we were having issues with filthy water inside the lines itself due to lack of chemical treatment, due to lack of PM. So we back flushed all the coils and removed just black water out each one. Okay? Back flushed. In other words, we disconnected them and back flushed it. And the coil itself is almost, if you look at the terminology of the radiator, it's just like that. Okay? In the coil, we have return air coming through the coil, supply air, feeding it to each of the drops and through each of the ductwork going into the supply air itself. Okay? In front of that, once our pump is circulating water, this is my chill water loop, as you see to each one of the air handlers, okay? I'll be real slow. Once we leave the main chill water pump, which is down on the ground, we lift it, we take it to a booster pump that is up in the penthouse. Through the booster pump, we go through a, more or less a, Christian? Oh, fly. It's a reducing valve, more or less, where we have GPMs on the pumps. We're rated at GPM, gallons per minute. Once we go through this booster pump, check valve, then we go through the chill water valves itself, which we change those out. Chad and I both, and David and Heather, has seen pictures, Chad has pictures of what these old chill water valves look like once we removed them. And they were corroded where we had no flow or very little flow through the existing chill water valves. So we installed new ones and we back flushed, as I said, through the coil. Now everything we have 42-degree water leaving the chill water the chiller itself, okay? As we come through, it maintains 42 degrees until we enter the coil. Bigger drawing of the coil. Now, once we get through the coil, it just U-bends, just like the radiator, all the way through and comes back out for chill water return, okay? As we're finding out today, as we wrapped up everything, and, excuse me, I met Chad out here. It doesn't matter if you turn this chiller down to 40 degrees or 38 degrees. We can't turn it down any lower than 42 due to refrigeration properties. We would start chilling, we would start freezing the chill water barrel, okay? So once the water's leaving 42, we're getting returned at 46. That's only 4 degrees and 48. That's only 6 degrees differential, TD, as we call it. So I started looking at everything, taking measurements. We got 42 coming in here, 46, 48 coming out. Good airflow, good filter change, everything else. Roland has flushed and washed all the coils out for us, or for y'all. And those coils are clean on the outside due to, as just like a home system, if you don't change your filters, your air conditioner has poor TD, okay? Now, as I started seeing at these check valves today, these check valves are like orifices. We got to tone the water down. We got to slow it down where we have proper temperature TD coming across. If we don't have proper TD, we've got too fast of water moving through this coil because of the check valves that has been tweaked. That's, I guess, the best honest way to put it. And anytime you point a finger, you get 3 pointing back at you. So, you know, we're just bringing this to y'all's attention that if we can come in, I'm meeting with a balancing company next Wednesday, the 31st. They're going to do a survey. It's a reputable company that we use all the time through the state of Texas. NDY is the name of them. And I have chosen, instead of bringing it as hiring them as a subcontractor to say Muleshoe Area Hospital, NDY has agreed to work for y'all. That way I don't have a markup on NDY's work, okay? And that's only proper for this community because I'm in this area all the time. I have family buried at Amherst. So it's, and for the community itself to save money. It's been a costly project. Before we even showed up, 30 grand sunk into the chiller itself because compressors and a leaking coil. Now, we've got this chiller running. There's a compressor off. Right now it's grounded. But we don't need to replace this, okay? Let's budget that next year, as I've visited with Chad. Let's get this system, this chiller right here from here over is operating. We've got one compressor out, and it's making 42-degree water all day long. If we balance this system, NDY comes in and balances it where we have the proper water flow going through the coil, I honestly believe that you'll have a cold hospital again. Lack of, I guess the best way to put it, lack of knowledge. This is big stuff, okay? And I myself, I got into this trade at 18, and I've been in it, and I'll be 53 next month, so I've been in it for 35 years. Went to college for everything about it, but for my findings, for what I've seen, and that's 30 years I've just been a technician. My findings itself is that once we fix the check valves themselves and balance it, where we have, like if you have, for instance, GPMs, we have 92 GPMs at this pump. This pump up here is only 32 GPMs. Okay, it drops, but this is only enough to do this core. Then we have another booster pump at that. We downrate the pumps on purpose to slow down this water. And if these valves have been tweaked with, we've got too much water. Now, our issue that we see, this is the first one on the loop, which is in this penthouse right above us, or down the hall a little bit. If you open this valve all the way, a little bit, you have nothing going through this one, okay? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So if what you would want to do is you slow this one down way much. Because as the GPMs I noticed on these pumps, this is like 32, 29, 26, and 25. So we slow down all the way to take care of the last few on the loop, okay? And then it just cycles again, the entire cycle all the way through. And if you have any questions, I think I've just about covered what I wanted to cover in this meeting. You know, it's to explain it. Once ND White comes out, I'm going to meet him out here as well. We're going to go through this. We're going to take notes. And then ND White's going to propose what it's going to cost to do it. It could be expensive. I don't know. I'm not for sure. I can't put a dollar number on it, you know, based on the size of this hospital.
But they'll just be working on the valves?
Yes, sir, check valves. Now, there is potential of failed check valves, okay? But overall, we've got chill water going to it. We've just got too much going through it. Too fast. And we can tweak it down, but without proper balancing, then we could be back out here opening it up and just back and forth. They're going to do the entire loop. And then on the second time, after they fix this, I mentioned to Nick White, I mentioned to him, I told him, okay, let's look at the air balancing, how much air we really have coming out of the air handlers themselves. If that's proper. And I'm going to call Quality Mechanical, who did this install up in Emerald, and see if they might by chance still have the plans. If we had the plans, it would be so much easier because the engineer designed it for certain GPMs per the coil, certain CFMs, cubic foot per minute, of air coming out of each of their, okay?
Dennis, I sure like to thank you, and we appreciate all you've done for us, and especially for picking up this complex problem we had. And I can certainly see a lot at the end of the tunnel. We've got our water treatment going, chemical infusion, and that's all now automated. We're cleaning up this water. We have been able to filter a tremendous amount of gunk that flows through our pipes. Back flushing the coils, those are cleaned up, and really now it lies in balancing the water out. And we thank you. And I tell the board there's been 2 occasions that I've called Dennis and asked him, hey, can you overnight these parts? And he's got it done. And last week we had a problem with our return air coming from outside, the fresh air supply. And he said, I'll be there today and I'll crawl inside of it and see what we have going on. And I can tell you today, our ER and patient rooms are much cooler. Even the admin is much cooler. We thank you.
You bet. Now, the water that we flushed out was about Chad's shirt. It was, when it came out of each of the coils, it was black. And Matt, I've known for many, many years, and he's got a good handle on the chemical treatment itself. And I mean, we saw evidence of today after removing strainers and the salt filters that we're still cleaning it up. I mean, it's down to about the color of my boots or the tile here, and which is, I would say, 90% better. And we've got a treatment in it. Matt has a treatment in it right now with regular use. And then, so it's just, at first, as I told David and Chad, it was baby steps. Now we're taking strides. Okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's see it. And y'all can keep the ratios, and then you keep this pretty picture. Let's see it. Thank you.
David, if you would continue administrative report.
Okay, we're still working on meaningful use within the hospital. We plan on trying to accomplish that October, November, December, so we get a reimbursement from the government sometime in the first 6 months of the next year. That's what we're shooting for. We'll continue to work on the budget, as you all know. We'll be looking at the budget and working on it, making some adjustments. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I will address a question that was posed to me earlier. Anybody that's in business will know this, look at themselves, that if in fact you hire an agency, that's all you could afford to hire as an agency, you would not have to pay taxes, nor would you have to pay workers' comp, you wouldn't have to pay benefits. So theoretically wise, if you negotiate with the agency in a roundabout way, you can actually save money by going agency rather than employment. But I have employed several nurses in a hospital. I've hired several people in the lab. I've hired several people in X-ray. I've hired several people in pharmacy, several people in business office. So the thought that I said that we were going to fire everybody in our agency, of course, is not true. But there is theory to it. I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
And it's certainly not our intention to hire temp agencies. We want to, when we can, to hire local. Next we have the parking lot, which is a parking lot for 3 lots that we have south of Purdy's office. I don't have a proposal on that, but I talked to Wayne Copley about hauling us in some crushed asphalt or caliche black ash mixture to kind of relieve the parking situation that we have at hand. I also went by and talked to David Brunson, the city manager, and asked him if he would level that off for us and remove some of the trees, and he said he would, but they're kind of swamped right now with some of their summer projects, but he would be glad to do that for us. On our board training dates, I do have some dates for you guys. I certainly feel that it is important for the board members to be properly trained, so we know what our boundaries are, and so we know what our duties are. I do have some training dates for us to vote on and approve. All 3 of these take place in November. The first one would be the 17th at 5:30 in the afternoon. The second one would be the 29th of November at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And the other one would be the 30th of November at 6 o'clock.
Okay, what day are these on?
Let's see here. Okay, the 17th falls on a Thursday, the 29th is a Tuesday, and the 30th is a Wednesday. It would be here.
Here, talk about it.
We need to attend one or all 3, or?
It's just one class, one night, and we're gonna, he gave us a couple of dates, 3 dates here to choose what would work for everyone.
The 17th would be fine, unless somebody goes to the ball games on Thursday night.
Have you looked into that?
I
I don't know, but, I'll find out. The other one that we looked at going to in Dallas was pretty expensive.
It's gonna be pretty expensive for the
But-
parent itself, and having to come here, I would venture out and say it's a one night or a couple of hours, you're looking at no more than $500. You know, that may be way high, but I didn't think about that. But it's one of those things that's necessary, so,
And we do get reimbursed by the Texas.
yeah.
When is Thanksgiving?
I think it's a 24.
Yeah.
It is.
I remember you said this year.
I suggest, when are we gonna do board meeting?
Remember, that's the month we usually skip and we work the first week of December.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm gonna make a motion to have it 17th.
Okay,
Second motion.
all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll have our board training the 17th at 5:30. Okay, David, have you received any questions regarding to our proposed budget?
No, I've not received any questions, though I will call you, as Shannon and I, there's a couple of things here, Shannon and I can continue to look at the budgets together. We do want to note a change, just so that you can note it. We're going to try to offset this in some other areas, so it's not necessarily an increase. But on page 81 of your budget, it has to do with the dietary department over at Parkview. And she would like to increase the food service cost by $6,000 and make it 76 rather than 70. She felt like the dollar amount was a little low to provide proper food for the residents over there.
That's based on what, number of patients?
That was based, there was a, when the last administrator went in, she did some budget cuts, and she cut the budget from $4.58 to $4 per person per day. That's not per meal, per day. That's like starving a resident. I've never worked under $5 per day per resident. $4.58 I can work with, it's gonna be hard, but I'll do it. But $4, that's starving a resident. Can't do it. So David graciously went back up to $4.58 for me.
Which comes out to be $76,000. And that's the only change, $6,000 change. And again, by the time we reach September 22nd, I'm going to try to find an offset with it and go in some form of action. But that's the only change that we have made to the proposed budget in the last few weeks as we have.
You can cut a lot of things, you can't cut the food.
Well, it's based on how many people?
It's based on, I think we did 45 people. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other discussion?
On the budget, you said, oh, you talking about food?
Budget.
Change of the budget. And also, I forgot to bring my budget with me. But we talked last time about, I think you told us this, the changes in wages would be like $168,000 cost.
I think that was the total cost.
And that was based on a 3 and 4%.
It was based upon a
Salary tax, wage change.
4.3% all together. It's not 4.3 across, it's a range of 3 up to that averages out to be the 4.3. But those people who make the highest dollar amount receiving 3%, those making a lower dollar amount making a different percentage.
With the increased income that the hospital is showing at this time, and on this right here, this report right here, and the income that we get from tax assessment, tax collection, being that employees hadn't had a salary increase in 3 years, you had talked about 4 and 5% ratio on there at one time. And I would think we need to look at it, because our numbers are better.
I have looked at it, and I have come up with my analogy. If the board chooses to choose 3, 2, 1, 9, 10, 20, that's up to the board. But what I have worked into it is what I suggest, and that's the way it stands. I'd be one of 3 or 4 across the board, but I don't believe we can stand it.
Now, something else we need to consider is what Congress did with the Medicaid program. They cut it by 40%.
They have cut that. Actually, the nursing homes actually been hit harder than others in the cuts they have received. But they have just recently, and they're basing it on the ER visits at the present time, so it's not across the board. They're going to try to cut back on what they term non-emergency ER runs, so that they're going to start screening exactly what you're in, what the doctor treats, and whatever the diagnosis is, that's what it has to be. Lee Ann actually was out here. She's pretty well versed on that, on the 40% cut. Was it basically on the ER visits?
It's not considered life-threatening, and you come to the ER, you'll get a 40% reduction on payment.
Ouch. Okay.
And I have it in my office if I want to see it from the Medicaid website.
Okay.
That's just through ER.
That's correct.
At this point in time.
Not 40% out the nursing home.
No, that's the ER.
Well, I think it's, at least we're considering it, and, you know, they got a salary freeze for the last 3 years, so, by starting out with what, since you're the financial, you know what's going on here, I think it'd be a good idea to maybe go with your recommendations, and then possibly next year we can even do better.
All right. Well, of course, this is open. We're not going to decide anything tonight. This is open for discussion, and certainly food for thought. I'm not against giving everybody 20%, except we could do it and have the money flow. Because budgets are no more than black and white. It's your projections. You don't really know what you're going to get, or you know what you're going to spend. You always try to spend less than what you project. And I tried to be conservative, and hopefully we can get, especially in the hospital side of it, we can get, our high dollar makers, which are our swing beds. The more we can get of those, the better we're going to be. We get, a new doctor in town, and he's here, and seeing more patients and so forth and so on, and we'll see an influx. But there's always a chance that it might not play out exactly like the paperwork did. We tried several different scenarios, and over the nursing home, what we're looking at is an increase in the census. There's some other things that we're not ready necessarily to discuss and talk about right now, but that Shannon and I have been discussing and looking at that could be advantageous for the nursing home. So we're going to continue to look at those things, and if it plays into the budget, we certainly will let you know that before the 22nd. Again, you have, I believe it's 2 more. We have a meeting next Thursday night, and you have one on the 13th. So you have 2 more meetings for the public to come in and listen to what we say, and also to voice their concern or non-concern about the tax rate. You will not have to vote on it until the meeting of the 22nd, where you adopt the budget and adopt the tax rate at that time. And if you noticed in the paper today, our meetings are posted. They're supposed to post in there in the paper today. And so, again, I'm not against, in fact, in an earlier discussion today, as I talked about what the government may or may not do, they're formulating this for EMR, and that's the health plan stuff we're going through. They're mandating that we do that. And in mandating that they do that, the electronic medical record, I suppose if we could afford it. In fact, the doctors yesterday at medical staff meeting said we're probably going to have to increase staff. But that's not in this budget, because that's one of those things that's unknown. We'll find out, but the doctors are not necessarily sold on the fact that as they treat anybody, whether it be in their clinic or in the ER, that they have to sit there, and if you've been to the doctor lately, if you notice, the doctor usually doesn't look at you anymore. He's on a computer screen asking me questions, typing in as he's talking. And that's the change that we're saying. And they say that that's going to cut their ability to see patients in half, not by 1 or 2. But if you saw 10, you're going to see 5. And when you do that, it cuts half your money. So in theory, that really takes place. We could be open for a door and window that we can't even see right now because nobody likes change. And when you know, you've been practicing medicine for a long time, you're used to it, change is, and that's why it's important to get new doctors, and we have new doctors. So he's been using that. Hopefully he can, you know, be a boost to the others getting in there. And if we won't see that cut, but there is a potential to say the EMR, which is mandated by the government, cut us down. Then as they start screening these tests that we are running, and they're started doing that, they've already started doing that with Medicaid, and we're doing that as we speak with Medicare too. They're going to try to find a way not to pay, but not to pay. That's going to be their objective because the government says anyway that they're running out of money. And the economy doesn't, but they're, you know, our budget plays a lot into what the economy is running like. You know, they're laying people off. One of the large banks, Bank of America, they did 3,500 people. Texas Tech laid off 200 people, and this is all happening as we speak. So as time goes on, if the economy doesn't turn around pretty quick, we're going to see more and more and more of this. So the question you set in your mind is all the work you can possibly do to put into a budget and project what you think it's going to make. Is that going to be exactly what it is? Your retail stores are going to suffer because you're not going to have the money necessarily, not consider you, but I won't have the money to go out and buy what I want to at the store. Those things have been gone up too high, or maybe my wife got laid off or something like that. So budgets are hard to be precise on. So it's very disheartening for me to say that I could give $100 here, $200 there, $300 there. It's hard for me to say that, especially when we talk about a raise at 3 or 5 or 4 or 10%. I'm very nervous, and I'll say this to the day you approve it. I will do whatever the board approves. If it's what's in the budget now, or 3 across, or 4 across, or 5 across, we'll do it, and then we'll strive to make it. But as long as we're all on the same page, and once we're recorded in there, that I'm very concerned about being able to make it, so that when we get there and something happens, why didn't you tell us this? I'm telling you now, it doesn't look rosy for anybody. Not just us, it's anything. So I realize people haven't had wage increase. I understand that, and I'm willing to try to get out there and do what we can to get whatever the board decides, whatever that might be. But we're in this boat together once we get there. And I don't want to get to the point where we have to start laying people off. And that's not something I'm saying on the table right now, so don't anybody say that. I said we're going to start laying people off. I'm just saying that when times get tough, you have to make those hard decisions. That's business. And everybody you know how hard it is sometimes to make those decisions. But at any rate, Shannon has looked at this, and we have looked at it together, and we will continue to. And I'm not against any amount of raise that you put in there. I will have to have some sort of final before the 22nd, because when the 22nd comes, I'll have to present to you what the bottom lines are. Now, that being said, too, and you may not have it, but in your nursing home summary, you have $741, theoretically speaking, if everything, that you have $741 to work with. So you can see with it, and that was before the $6,000 that we increased the food. So that's why I've got to go in there and play. What do I do? Try to increase the revenue, or do I try to set another line item so that if you start talking about raising that from that percentage that I have in there, you're talking about a deficit that we've got to cover. We've got to do that by cutting some other expenses and/or increasing the revenue. Now, the hospital, on the other hand, our revenue shows somewhat more. It's not that great. I don't want to say that for a fact we're going to shut it out, that we're going to see a $188,000 profit next year. That's a piece of paper without cash money. Now, that's all I can say. Again, I'm not against any amount of anybody getting whatever amount they want and need. And the board, not to throw this in your hands, and I know you listen to a negative person when you talk like this, but my deal is, if you as a board agree that you want to give 5% or more, or whatever you across the board, that's what we'll put into the budget, and that's what we'll strive to make. Just know that the more we go up, the harder it's going to make it on us trying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we won't make it. I'm just saying be aware that we need to tighten our belts and really get down the road, because I'm willing to give the amount of raise that the board approves. My recommendation is what the proposed budget is. That's my recommendation, but that doesn't mean it's gospel. That's just my recommendation. And I looked at this for months. I didn't look at it overnight. I put this together. It took me 3 months to put this together. I hope that you've taken time to look at it and see what the numbers are and see where we're trying to cut and we're probably going to have to increase. And that goes for the hospital, it goes for the clinic, as well as the nursing home. And we'll strive to do whatever we possibly can. I can bring them on the road, but hopefully you get the
I do, and I believe we can have a conservative budget, but yet reward the hardworking employees. But, you know, we also have to factor in that cushion because the air conditioner got us this year, and that wasn't something that was budgeted for. But still, they have been here for the last 3 years for no raise, and I think we do need to take action on that.
What are our costs so far on the air conditioning?
$30,000, and let me, I didn't bring it with me, but let me, 30, 40, 50. I want to say it's at $75,000 right now. And though I don't know it for a fact, but I talk and sometimes too much, but this next round could cost us something around 25. So we're still looking at the $100,000 mark. And we can only hope then that when we get this done, that something else doesn't break. On this diagram, we started here, and then this would happen, and this would happen, and this would happen, and it was just a flow through from a non-maintained system over a number of years. But we're really close to getting it fixed. And sometimes you say, I had not met Dennis until he walked in the day after I called him. And he does this for a living, and he has to be honest because there are going to be people calling us for references. And so I believe he's done the best he can with what he has, and he had a hard job to come into an old setup like this and try to figure out what had and had not been done. And our hospital's cooler than it was. We had some pretty hot days up here, didn't we? Yeah. Didn't we? We had some pretty hot days up here. And it was pretty miserable. And yes, you complained it was cold in here today. You can't satisfy.
Actually, I said, I'm not going to complain, I'll take the call.
Our new system has some automation in it, like the chemical injection is automated. And that's going to help to remove some of the human error element. And that's really what happened in the past was we bypassed our water softener, didn't fix it, we put foreign chemicals in, and we're left with a big mess.
Why do you think the doctor's patient load could be cut in half?
Well, I don't. They said.
Because of computer time, that was just.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
That's what they're talking about. When they had to do it with this new computer.
Scott, they go, I'm speaking out of term here, everywhere I go, you're talking anywhere from 10 to 17 screens that they're having to go to admit a patient. And this is every time. You have to answer these questions every time. I mean, where I go to Southwest in Dallas, there's not a doctor I go to that a nurse doesn't follow him in the room when they go. If they've got 6 doctors working, they've got 6 nurses on the computers. Because they can't operate. It's kind of like the thing with Dr. Purdy, we tried oral dictation. It works for somebody with low patient load. Dr. Purdy, he can't do it because it takes too much. The 2 and 3 minutes here and there adds up to 3 hours in a day, and he can't do it. And it's the same thing with this. It's not, it's just the mandate, you have to fill this stuff out, and there's no way around it.
And the fix, and they do it, the fix theoretically could be to add yet another nurse to the staff, and at least the clinics, if not the AR too, for that purpose. And they have to be nurses because they would have, they have no terminology, more of the hands-on stuff. And we may have to do that. We're not saying we're going to do that now, but if the doctor comes and says, I just can't handle it, then you're not going to have a choice but say, well, I'll just put them in one person so we get this done. And if that increases the patient load, then that's better for us. So this is certainly new for us, trial and as we go in.
Sounds like a government project, doesn't it? Everything that the government does makes it harder.
Any other budget discussion? Moving on, financial statistical reports and bad debt write-off.
Okay, starting on page 16, our cash balance for the combined hospital and nursing home is $526,000, which $415,000 that's the hospital and $111,000 is the nursing home. On page 19, line 2 accounts receivable has increased by $86,000, and then on down to the current liabilities, accounts payable is down, this is from last month, is down by $46,000, and it's quite a bit down from last year. On over on page 23, starting on that page, and then on page 26 is our accounts payable check listing. So everything for this page for the month is $480,000 worth on the hospital side. Page 40 is our profit and loss statement. And right now we still have a net gain of $382,000 for the year. So we're still working on that. Pages in between show the balance sheet and profit and loss comparing it for the full year on the next few pages there. On page 52 is our balance sheet for the nursing home. And that's accounts receivable on that. We've also increased on the accounts receivable by $61,000 last month. And the accounts payable is down by $38,000. On page 56 and 57 is the accounts payable for the nursing home. It's $214,000. And then page 58 is the profit and loss statement for the nursing home. And we're still at $87,000 on the year-to-date profit on that.
On page 56, check 3536 made to the hospital, $114,840.
Yes, that was their paying us back for the money that we gave them last year.
Okay, so that pretty well should cover the air conditioning.
That's actually the reason we did it.
Right. I don't argue with that a bit. I bet on page 57, we had 2 checks from Neiman Realty.
Yes, that's for the rental of the property for the interim administrator.
So can you tell me how much more this interim administrator is going to cost over the previous administrator?
As much as it's necessary to find one to take the place of it.
That's actually part of my salary. I took a lower salary, so I wouldn't have to find a house in Texas.
Okay.
Because I didn't want the stress of finding an apartment. I didn't want the stress of finding a car. So I took a much lower salary than I think even Megan, even though and I had 13 years of experience. So he would get me an apartment and a car, so I didn't have to do it. So believe me, you're getting a bargain. Believe me. as I'm sitting on that 1970s couch. Honey, we've got a bargain.
Could be 60s.
And it could be the 60s. Yeah.
We can arrange that.
Yeah. Not that I'm not thankful, but let's not talk about the rent. I'm sorry, Chad. Okay.
But you know, if we don't know.
No, I'm
We haven't been made aware.
I'm glad you asked, but when you see me in that handicap van, we got a good price.
Excuse me, Vicky, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all.
I'll settle down.
Thank you very much.
Shannon,
Oh, it's my turn?
it's your turn.
Oh, okay. That was my report. Okay. We are opening up 300 hallway, and until a couple days ago, I didn't know that and I had talked to Zona about this today. I had not realized that we didn't have the 300 hallway open. The 300 hallway has double wide rooms, and I was asked by someone if we had any private rooms. And I was told by several employees, no, we do not have any private rooms available. Well, to me, we've got a ton of private rooms available. And I was told that the 300 is not staffed, we don't have enough staff to staff it, and that those rooms are $201 a room. Well, in Muleshoe, Texas, and I think everywhere in America, nobody's going to pay over $200 for a room. So we are now letting those rooms go for $140, which is our private pay room, whether they're double wide or single. So we are now going to be staffing 300. We are going to be renting them out at $140, which is a good price. And we are opening up the 300 hallway. And we are going to probably be having our first customer very soon. So the last year, a lot of people were denied rooms because we just didn't open up that hallway. So I'm very glad to be opening that up. I'm very thankful that for the board and the hospital for the money that they gave us for the 5 CNAs. We had the 5 hospitality aides that are now in CNA school. They started Monday. They'll be done in about 12 days, and they will be on our floor as CNAs. So that's awesome. They signed the 6-month contract where they will be our aides and they will work for the district for at least 6 months after getting schooled with us. So that's awesome. We're not hiring any more hospitality aides. And the hospitality aides that we do have left that are not CNAs will be going to nutrition school so at least they can feed. So we're on the right track there. We're having a big in-service on Monday, and we're going to be relearning a lot of different things, the nurses and the CNAs, such as skin assessments, med airs, interactions with residents, making sure current weights get done, bed and chair alarms, monthly summaries are not being done. Residents' dignity, there's lots of things that we're going to make sure that we're going to start from scratch, and that's going to be done. We're also very excited about, we're getting a salad bar, which starts in October. We found a $3,000 new salad bar in storage, and we're going to be doing that once a week for the residents so they get fresh vegetables. And super excited about that. Staff gets to do it too. They get to pay $1 and they get to load up on fresh veggies. And that's really nice because really in the menu they don't have fresh veggies. And then we're also, for a marketing thing, we've got that front area where we have a desk and nobody mans it. So you know how you go to a hospital and there's like a hospital auxiliary, people that volunteer. So we're going to put an ad in the paper. Larry, you write this down. So we're going to put an ad in the paper and see if we can have senior volunteers run the front for a couple hours a day and have like a bowl of candy, brochures, have a sash that says Parkview on it, and then take people to the rooms when they come visit and give tours and something of that nature, so we thought that'd be a great marketing thing. And even on Saturdays and Sundays, that would at least be somebody there to greet people when they come into the door. So we're pretty excited about that. We thought about that today. So we're just doing lots of good things, and there you go. See, I am a bargain.
Still don't know.
You know, we did have a lady on Saturday and Sundays, and I don't know what happened, but she quit. What happened, we didn't have her in a while.
I didn't know that, but I just, you know, I'm missing there talking about that today, and thought we started up again.
You referred to hospitality aids, that's a new term. Where do you feel that?
When I came 3 weeks ago, we had so many hospitality aides and one aide that could actually work the floor during a shift. So I have a nutritional certificate that somebody made me get a long time ago. And so I was actually feeding the residents. I was feeding 4 residents at a time, which is horrible. And the hospitality aides are only glorified bed makers. And they make 25 cents less than your CNA, which is horrible. So you got this CNA that works her butt off, doing everything, and you got these hospitality aides, God bless them, that can't do anything but make beds, and you've got 5 of them roaming the floors, and one CNA doing all the work, and nobody's feeding residents, and you have me and the DON, and you know, probably are the only ones feeding. So we had to go to the state and ask them, because we had all these tags, can we override that and get an RN? It's never worked for the district. It took a lot of time to have them override this, and we found a RN that never worked for the district to come in and teach our hospitality aides to be aides. And we finally got that passed last week. And it was no small feat. And then to do their clinicals, they have to do their clinicals like 60 miles away, which I'm going to have to drive them in our van to do that. So, you know, it takes some time because you can't find CNAs around here.
And we were hiring people called hospitality aides because we couldn't find CNAs.
Exactly. And they got paid almost the same amount as CNAs, which was terrible because those CNAs don't make very much money anyway. So they're doing all the back-breaking work, you know, and the hospitality aides are just making beds and roaming around.
Shannon, are you still considering making lunch in your kitchen for the senior citizens?
Oh, you mean going to the senior center? Well, I'm not making lunch. You were scaring me. No. What do you mean?
That's not part of the bargain?
No.
Oh, okay.
What he means is, what I did in Iowa is once a month we had the kitchen make up like little lunches, and it's called a dessert and learn. And once a month I go to the senior center and deliver these lunches and then do like an in-service on like, you know, how not to fall in your home or little in-services. They're like 15 minutes and then we pass out lunches. I never said I make them.
So working on the bargain.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do get my own cable though, so it's a total bargain. So, yeah, so I can do that too, but we've had a lot of other stuff that we needed to, you know, work on, but yeah, that can be in the future.
So, back on target, how are your accounts receivables?
We have, did we ever tell you about the 30,000? Yes, we did contact the lawyer, and he did send out a letter. We had a family that owes us almost 40 grand, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your census now?
Our census is 41, and we have 2 possibly coming in, so, and then 1 in the hospital. So, it's not bad.
Okay, any other discussion?
But I found the family that owes us that money, and that's not gonna happen again. That was something that the family's been in this town for a long time, and nobody wanted to say anything, so. That was something that David David and I made a plan, an action plan, and how that won't happen again.
Okay, thanks. Entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Make a motion when you're in the executive.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, there's no action required regarding executive session. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Now that the meeting's over, as a voting resident of this county, born here my whole life, I've got some